All right.
Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 51 of Conservatish. My name is Peter Feliciano, Feliciano. You can find Conservatish on, God, I hate this. I hate saying...
I hate it too. I'm just sitting here and you're just plugging the show that people are already listening to. You can find this on whatever source is currently...
But I'm supposed to. Because I too many people are like, how do I even find it? I'm like, what do you mean you've listened to the show? Anyway, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Government Cheese. You can find us anywhere you need to. Go ahead and leave us a review and share this with your less offended friends, and make sure you go into this with bias. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today in the beautiful city of Manhattan is Gradient.
Hey, yo, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing really well, sir. I feel really good. Do
So
you
if
feel
anybody
comfortable
finds me,
right there?
I feel plenty comfortable, thank you.
All right, good.
If people find this from searching about me and they know about the political views that I've espoused in my music, they're going to be like, what?
Yeah, what is Pete doing? He's unequally yoked, as the Bible says. You shouldn't be unequally yoked, which means like don't hang out with people who aren't Christian, and then at the same time Jesus, hung out with prostitutes. So,
yeah.
So you're kind of like hanging out with a prostitute. You're like Jesus.
That's what this
and
is,
I'm
and
the
that's
prostitute.
what I was expecting out of this. No, just kidding. We are in a small bedroom, though.
Listen,
a little Airbnb.
All right.
No, let me say though that I identify as a progressive liberal. I believe in the policy positions that Bernie Sanders and Warren and other folks on the left have espoused.
Right.
I probably will support Kamala Harris as my number one right now, but there's all sorts of problems with every candidate.
Right.
My point though is really that I've always believed that we should hear from and sincerely listen to, and not just in a condemning and condescending way, views that we don't agree with.
Right.
And so I've enjoyed certain elements of your podcast. Emphasis on certain.
I love how that I'm sorry. Continue your
you
talk.
seem to like it. Do you seem to love? You really just like soak it up. You're like, I love that people cringe at the things I say or allow people to say.
Multiple people recently have sent me a message saying, I don't agree with everything you say. Sometimes I roll my eyes, but I'm still listening.
Yeah.
And that's just so cool. I guess it's partially it's good for my ego, because I'm the type of person who I want to be king shit emperor Peter Feliciano of everything, and the way my ego says to do that is to tap dance faster and make sure everybody likes me. And there's been a giant upheaval in my life over the last year and a half where it's just like I'm getting more used to not giving a shit whether everybody likes me. Yeah. But at the same time, I do want to be accessible. I don't want to be. You ever heard of Dillinger Escape Plan?
Yeah, that band.
Yeah, I don't want to be so. I'm doing my own thing that I turn people's ears off. I want to be accessible at the same time because I love people and I want people to listen and whatever. But it's hard to skirt that line where it's just like, I want to say whatever the fuck I want to say, but I also shouldn't be a punishing douche and not have tact, which is hard for me. So
yeah, I get that. I mean, well, you're pushing some discourse, and it's I think people who know you from their personal life could see something like this and be like, wow, this guy got 50 episodes in. Assume each episode gets 100 listens at least, some more, maybe something like that.
It depends.
People can do this
on
now.
Where it's streaming, and it doesn't count. It doesn't, unfortunately. But anyway,
yeah. So it's the scary but also exciting frontier that we're living in, and it's almost cliche to just keep talking about it like this, but. Right. Anybody can just say or do anything.
Right.
We're seeing that on the national political level. We're seeing that on just like where people get their information and their news. It's not just as much from, they chat with their neighbor or their coworker until the daily paper comes out the next morning.
Right.
It's anybody can start a news platform, I guess.
Yeah.
And anybody can start a podcast, and that leads to a lot of crap. I'm looking at you.
I know.
And also a lot of great stuff. So I tried to do a podcast for a little bit, and I'm self-conscious about my voice, and I stuttered and stumbled my way through it. And each episode was an hour-long episode that was like a 5-6 hour edit.
Right.
And I thought, this isn't sustainable.
Right.
It's called the So You're Calling It That podcast.
I like that name.
my buddy's idea, Brian Stevenson. Well, yeah, I'm sure it's fine actually with him.
Okay.
His name in here, I don't care. No one's gonna search his name and be like, "What the fuck?"
Right.
Yeah, it was music and movies informal chat thing that I just didn't keep up with because I don't keep up with much.
Yeah, it's hard, man. I mean, and not just that, but like I've seen, listens go, skyrocket on one episode, and then the next one is like lower, and I'm like, how could it be lower? I'm supposed to have a continuous. I'm supposed to. And so it's been good for my ego, in a way, and also, I, as a lazy person, it's been really good to like, I kind of boxed myself in. So now I have to put out 2 episodes a week, on every Monday and every Thursday I put out an episode,
nice.
whether it's perfect or whether it's with a guest or whether it's just my stupid ass in a car, you know what I mean? But like, having people listen to it, and I know every episode's going to have, like, there's going to be people who listen to this because they know you, and they're like, maybe. Okay, well, I
probably won't share it, though, so good luck getting it to my people. Sorry.
I'm going to send it to Sam at the very least.
There you go.
I think Sam's a good guy. I've been on his Tech N9ne podcast, great human being. His face is a little ugly, but, luckily he's in an audio medium. But
well, look at me. I didn't even shower to come here. I was like, oh, it's not a video podcast.
Is that what that smell is? But no, but like what was my damn point to that? I guess I was saying like
sharing it. Sam's gonna share it. Maybe.
Yeah, there's gonna be people who listen to this because you're Gradient, who are like, oh, I want to hear like his hip hop angle, or because, oh man, I really hope he goes for. There are some people who haven't listened to my podcast but have like know that I'm a bit of an asshole, or know that I'm a bit of a, or I'm not all the way left or all the way right. Who like are waiting for someone to come get me. You know what I mean? So like, like I think. So there are some people who listen to the more hip hop centric episodes. There's some people who listen to the more, there's some people who listen only to the MAGA-ish guests that I have on, and then there's some people who only listen to the perverts. You know what I mean? So, I like having a mix of everybody.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Well, from the hip hop ish angle, I've been talking a little bit about these feelings I have since my first full length in 2014. So wow. I had a track called Context Combat with Esid. And basically the whole first verse was like leaning in super hard on lefty views and being like, fucking conservatives, they're all racist. We need to send them to another planet. They're all bigot, homophobe. God damn these fucking people. Why do we allow these people to exist?
Nice.
And the end of the verse it goes, yeah, I've never really spoken to any of them, but and then it goes in the chorus, but I know they're this way. And then the second verse is the opposite perspective. It's fuck these liberals, like they believe in all this science, but they don't know shit about the science. They just believe it because it came from a scientific source. Whereas like they totally discredit anything good about faith, and and so basically the third verse, of course, it's got that corny, they come together and like figure it out in the end, whatever. Like Gandhi. Like trying to make a profound statement in 4 minutes, right? And which is, if you're listening to this because you like my music, you know that I'm really ham-handed and really just like on the nose. Like, I
like ham.
Yeah, that's good. I guess you could see it as me underestimating the intelligence of my audience, but I'm like, this is my message now.
I feel like, I had a mentor tell me that once. What do you feel like as far as that goes? Have you gotten more vague on purpose to try to like let your audience kind of feel it out themselves? Because I feel like I kind of like being right on the nose. I kind of like being tongue in cheek and just like right on, like this is exactly what I'm saying. I mean, maybe sometimes in a sarcastic way, sometimes in a whatever. Like I don't like being vague. What do you feel?
Yeah, I don't know, man. If I'm trying to make an actual point, which is only 20-25% of my songs are like a content, an issue song. Then I like to deliver it in a way it's not going to get too misinterpreted. But it did. That song got misinterpreted by a friend of mine who was a Christian, who was a liberal, and was like, I liked your album until track 11 or whatever. And I turned it off. And he's like, I just didn't like, he's like, I didn't like what you said about Christians. I was like, did you listen to the rest of the song?
I know.
And then 5 minutes go by, the message seen, 4:52 p.m.
Right.
And then 5 minutes go by, oh, man, that was great.
Right, exactly.
But so I guess, I can be a little more vague sometimes for the sake of the rhyme. Like one of my, I'm a student of technical rappers.
Okay. Like what are some?
Tech N9ne,
Okay,
Watsky,
wow. All right.
Watsky, and Busta,
I love Busta. He's so underrated, dude.
Are you
kidding
me?
So underrated.
How is he not talked about as a god MC?
That's what I'm saying.
Doesn't he have new shit coming? I think he's got a new full length coming.
Because here's what I feel like about Busta. I'm sorry, we're going off on a rant, but
no, I feel music.
I
Let's
feel
try
like
music.
I feel like Busta Rhymes on the vein of like people give him props when it comes to his 90s-ness, when it comes to his like jump around, like his hits. But they don't listen to like the way he. Sure, he might not be a fucking conscious rapper, or whatever. I'm making a jerk off signal, but like I feel like he's lyrically like his cadence and the way he puts words together is fucking amazing, dude.
It's completely amazing. Like. And then in 2011 he did this track with Chris Brown and Lil Wayne, Look at Me Now.
Right.
And that was like one of his biggest mainstream hits.
Right.
And like kind of just reminded people like, oh yeah, in case you forgot, like I could rap my fucking ass off.
Right. Fuck.
And just
Chris Brown's
over.
part of that. I remember listening to that.
Yeah, but Chris Brown even acknowledges it. He's like, well, he lets Busta just be like, hey, Breezy, just let me show you how to keep the dice rolling doing that thing over there.
Right.
I won my senior class, my student body president election from doing that rap.
Wow. Every time they get it, no, get that.
Yeah.
What, he actually Chris Brown. That's what I like.
I gotta get away, but I know that I don't, and I won't ever stop because I gotta win every day.
Yo!
Yeah, that's fire.
But
all I was saying about vagueness, let me hit on that for it.
Please.
Tech N9ne, he pushes that level of lyrical rhyme scheme to the point where you just don't know, especially like a lot of the time, what the fuck he's talking about, what he's saying. Even when he thinks he's making a song, I sound like I'm dissing the guy, that is super conscious. Like he's got one called Burn the World, where he's talking about, like, he's always been really, really hateful towards pedophiles. He just thinks that's like the wackest shit you can do.
I wonder why. Anyway, continue.
He was, he's spoken out about, I wonder why, that's funny. But he's spoken out about how his teacher, I think it was, someone molested him as a kid. And
oh, fuck.
Same with ICP, who I also love. We can get into that if you want.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. Continue.
But so it's like sometimes, he also has a lexicon of his own. So Tech N9ne has like words and phrases that are just shout outs to his people and like people who've been following him for the 35 albums back, literally. And so sometimes like you don't really know what he's saying, but it's like delivered so flawlessly, engineered and mixed so flawlessly at his studio that they've got everything down pat.
Right.
And so sometimes as a corny half white, half Japanese kid from Eugene, Oregon, like questioning whether or not I have any place in the rap game or if I can make a mark.
Right.
I've always been a person who's like, let me just rhyme a lot of shit.
Right.
Let me just make the rhymes interesting and complex. So, sometimes I sacrifice a little bit. It's hard to, do both that and also say something that's interesting and pushes a conversation and makes sense.
Right. There's a lot of see, I think that's the main like push there is when you give a shit. That's what I try to call, like, because I listen to a lot of different genres and a lot of different rap and a lot of different. I listen to some bluegrass. Like I listen to a lot of different stuff.
Oh, me too, 100%.
And as long as it has give a fuck in it, it makes it good. You can tell when someone's trying. You know what I mean? And when you can tell when someone's not if you're listening for it.
Brady O'Rourke. From
Who's
Crush
that?
Kill Recordings. He's the manager of Crush Kill Recordings, which is Idea from Idea and Abilities. His own sub-label off of Rhymesayers. They now are the label that Sammy Warm Hands operates under, who is
That's what I thought,
the thread between you and I.
Right.
We've dissed his looks once. I'll do it again. He's ugly.
He's very I mean, I would. I'm just saying.
I would.
I would throw him a couple of.
Not ugly, but he says, I look like a piece of shit because I feel like a piece of shit.
Right. I'd let him peek at my dick, but that's as good as we're gonna get. This is going a weird direction. I apologize.
But so Sam played him, the manager of, or I don't know what his official title is, because he also runs like all merch for Prince's estate, the Paisley Park estate. So he's like,
holy shit,
big shot.
Oh my god.
And he listened to my album, and there's this it's the title track, Ambition, has this corny ass spoken intro, where I say, thank you all so much for listening to this. I feel so good right now. And Sam told me, Brady was like, yeah, dude, we can fucking tell.
Aww.
We didn't need you to say it.
Aww.
Like, you sound happy as shit.
I guess that's
and the
a good
beat
thing.
is like this, string orchestra instrumentals, like, and it's like, it's very already way too on the nose. And I'm just literally saying, yeah, in case you guys didn't know, I'm really happy right now.
Right. Where can people find your music, by the way?
There's a guy named Doug down on the corner here. He'll point you towards a dumpster. You dive in there, find the green trash bag, and there's a flash drive that also has some porn on it.
Okay.
So you dig into the folder. It says private. No, sorry, this joke's not going anywhere.
That's all right.
Anywhere.
I support the attempt. That's
there you
what
go.
So like SoundCloud.
So Spotify.
And it's, how do you spell your name for people?
I'm on there ish. Gradient, Gradient.
Got it.
Bandcamp, but if you go there, you're gonna hear my old mixtapes. And
right.
Who wants to hear that?
Right.
I might have something else coming this year. We'll see. I don't know. I always say that, so I just got tired of
saying
responding to YouTube comments and saying, dude, I got stuff coming on the way. Thanks for holding it down with me all these years. And
blah blah blah. Right.
Time goes by, and I'm also in this master's program trying to be a teacher. So, whatever. Distracted. It'll always be there. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Right.
My youth won't always be there, but music and the ability to just bust a rap once in a while, that'll always be there.
When it comes to, because I was watching something recently, all these rappers talking about Eminem and talking about even though hip hop is a black art. What did 50 Cent? Hip hop is a black art, but the best rapper alive is Eminem. You know what I mean? So I think.
My best friend would say youth, Andre, but go on. Yeah.
As far as
Eminem did do schemes and subject matter, but a technical level that wasn't done before.
Right. Well, even on that track he did with Tech. And
Speed 'em.
Yeah,
Chris
Speed
Calico.
'em's unbelievable. Dude, Calico's
oh my God.
Verse in that is phenomenal.
It's better
dude.
than Tex. Thank you for recognizing
that's
that.
what I'm saying,
yes.
dude.
Oh my God. He sounded like he sounded like he wanted to be heard,
Right. I can't remember there was one line he said, but anyway, listen. Yeah, Speed 'em is.
But they
great.
all of them use the cheap Eminem feminine rhyme. All three of them. They were
really?
Yeah. Eminem is a nemesis to a feminist is one of them, and then feminine figures flogging a foe with a fife to rime with Eminem.
Right.
I was like, okay, there's a little bit of you're doing that part a little too much, but
he did say
that's
fife.
A great track.
Any hip hop line that says fife.
Flogging a foe with a fife.
Literally a fife. I respect that so much.
It's good.
My favorite rapper is MF Doom.
Ooh,
I like Doom because
food.
even though he's not necessarily a speed rapper or a conscious necessarily or any of that shit, he's his cadence and his word choice is so out there. You know what I mean? The fact that MF Doom will have a track where he'll say. Hear ye, how dare ye? You know, how dare ye? It just makes me so happy inside my belly.
He's a smart dude.
He's
smart enough to get people to pay for shows that he doesn't show up to.
Listen, I'm not defending the man's outside of it. Yeah, he'll actually. Yeah, I can't remember.
Often they're bad. Some are better than others. The MF Doom impersonators. Look this up if you're not aware. There's videos about some of those people come out and wear the MF Doom mask, and they have people convinced for a little while that they're him, and other people are just not good at it at all. And of course, they fall on their ass, and everybody misses out on a good show.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I don't think he's played in America at least for a long time because he's been just stuck over there in England.
Okay.
I mean, not stuck. He was born there. He loves England, but he's one of those people he spent a lot of time in New York.
Okay.
So he's got that New York stilo, but he's also from England, and he just, I think, to tell you the truth, I think the man's just like an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like he's of course he's gonna get some, literally, like Grady was saying, he would, because MF Doom wears a mask, he would have rappers come and make believe that they're him, so that they can, in fact, actually, not on purpose. Did you ever see that one where that video where what's his face, changed his name, Black Star, what's his name,
Mos Def, who became Yasin Bey?
Yeah. I'm not a big Mos Def fan, but he Mos Def on purpose like wore the mask to like give a shout out to Doom. Like, I love Doom.
That's
dude.
cool.
He's
That's
so
cool.
much fun.
Yeah, I respect him a lot. I mean, my second mixtape, I made a dumb musical decision where I had done my first mixtape 3 months prior, got all this love from it because I was straight out of high school, had all those high school friends that thought it was cool that a kid from Eugene was rapping at all.
Right.
And so I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking steal the Benzie Box beat off of the Danger Doom record with CeeLo.
Right.
And like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing with the mix also, because I was trying to handle everything out of my bedroom. And like, I'm not mad at my verse on it. It's fine, but it's like I'm trying to sing like CeeLo's hook in a modified way, which is already stupid. The worst part is I got Ogar Burl, who's a homie of Sammy Warm Hands. He's a good guy, but he's got the bassy fucking voice,
Right.
And I didn't like know how to mix and EQ it, so I just like did him dirty, man. It just sounded like shit at the end, and I didn't realize how bad it was because it wasn't me, not my vocals. To me, it sounds like a hot verse because it is, but like it was all weird and lispy. Like I took out so much of the low end. It was just like and like I was trying to cut out these like sort of syllabic high frequencies,
Right.
and I just did it bad. So you live and you learn, but I feel bad about Ogar. But he was the first feature on my full length.
You were just in high school, though. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, just out of high school. But yeah, thank you. But so I'll always feel bad about that. But his verse is the first verse on track 3 of my full length. So like, he gets this little redemption, I guess.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So when did you start rapping?
When did I start rapping? It was 2010, and I was in 10th grade global literature.
Wow.
And there was an art project, and it was for the Odyssey, and it was basically do an art project about anything Odyssey related. And at that point I'd been a fan of rap since 5th grade. Eminem and Kanye were the two big ones that really broke me into it.
Right.
And so people did like these popsicle stick, like Odyssey boat sculptures and poems and paintings, and I don't have any of that skill.
Right.
But I felt like at that point I kind of knew how to rap. So I made this Odysseus rap. And it's cringy as you would expect, but like I got love because it was a captive audience, and it was way different than what anyone else did, and it had funny, clever lines, right?
Sure.
So that happened and empowered me a little bit, but I was real busy senior and junior year of high school with whatever shit. And then I took a year off after high school and was like, I actually have a little bit of time, but of course I had so much time that whole year was not spent doing music. It was the final month before I went to college that was spent doing music. Right. Oh, God, I need to finally get this mixtape together. So that was 2013 is my first project. My first time spitting a rap was 2010. I also did a rap to promote a blood drive in the high school.
Very nice.
And that was in front of the whole assembly audience. So
do you feel like the encouragement you received in high school for it was more positive or more negative?
Definitely more positive.
Okay.
Definitely more positive. But like, I honestly think that's kind of how it seemed like you were going to get into a cultural appropriation-ish conversation. No. I'm not about me, but like with Eminem, like people being like, or maybe we covered it, but like the greatest quote unquote rapper is like a white guy doing this black art form. Like from Eugene, I could definitely count the number of black students in my graduating class on my 2 hands, possibly on 1 hand. But like, I don't know, like doing hip hop as a mixed race kid, everybody's like so willing to support it. And I think like if I had been out here, gone to a public high school out here where I student teach, like maybe there would have been some love, but also like what I'm basically saying is like people get excited about seeing someone who looks like them or someone who's just talented
right.
doing something that you wouldn't expect. And so that gave me all this crazy confidence that I now think is like
that's what I'm saying.
Stupid and not like the real world is.
Right.
Like in the real world, you know, I was out on the road with Lisa Vasquez and Sam not terribly long ago, and like you got to earn it. Mm-hmm. You got to fucking earn it. And in school, right. those people have to be there. And right. so they're going to cheer because that's what you do at the end of a song. You cheer.
Right. Be careful of the chord too. I think it's sometimes. No, it's okay. But that's what I'm thinking is like, I don't think, I think a little bit of encouragement from the right people is useful, but especially when we're younger and we haven't struggled for it, it's almost like encouragement is a detriment. You know what I mean? There's been times where I think actually at that show where I met Ogre and Sam out in, or no, it wasn't that show. It was a different one, but it might have been the same one. Anyway, I went to a show with One Word over at the Gilman once, and there was this kid who came in. It was his like first show ever, second show ever. Nice. He was a rapper, and he had the whole. I mean, it's not like a front row or whatever, because you know if you've been to Gilman, it's just all standing.
Yeah, 826 Gilman. Oh wait, no, it's 924.
Yeah, 924 Gilman. Yeah. And there's just like a ton of like high schooler kids because it's an all ages venue.
Yeah.
And so there's a ton of high school kids all like cheering and blah, blah, blah at this guy's set. And he's like first up, you know, and it's like 7:00 and he raps and then
it's their curfew. They got to come home.
No, not that. He goes outside and all of his friends follow him. No one gives a shit about that there's other people. Dude. He doesn't give a shit about that there's other people.
If you're the artist, you got to give some level of a shit.
Right.
You got to come inside after I get it. You hop off
cigarette.
Stage, you want to get your cig, but yeah.
Right.
You know, don't just let the show fall apart because it's your people and you think you're hot shit.
Right. And I think a lot of people have that at first. I never really had that. No, I'm not saying like because I'm so much more of a struggle artist, but I'm like I was never like I didn't start doing music until I was like maybe 25, 20.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 25.
Nice. That's my current age.
And so, you youngster. But like I think encouragement in that way was actually a detriment because he didn't learn, and he was a cute kid too, which is that's even more of a problem because there's less of a person, there's less people to go like it doesn't matter if you're cute, like do you come correct? So maybe you're right where that's like funny. In Eugene where there was a smaller pool to pick from, you know, versus out here in New York, people are much like, okay, what you got? You know what I mean? Like, and
totally.
And the bar is higher.
Totally, yeah. I came out here just last September to move here, and like was all starry-eyed from seeing amazing performances in the subway, and like at first I was like, are you guys not seeing this? This person should be on America's Got Talent. This person should be like, you know, all over with this incredible skill. Right. And then I lived here for 2 months and realized you're in people's car. Like you're in people's like personal space. This is their transportation. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like people think New Yorkers walk fast. It's because they do, because they're in their car. They're in car mode. Yeah. In Eugene, you have a car and you get from point A to point B.
Right.
In here, you got the Shoelace Express and you got the metro.
Right.
So they're not in any kind of a headspace where they want to hear your fucking shit.
I busted it here in November.
Okay.
And so I felt that a little
bit.
In the subway?
Nice.
I felt that a little bit, but that was also more, like I think in the touristy area, which is where my plan is to busk more, is over by Times Square. Cool. People do have more time, and they do have their families, and they do want to, like,
more
whatever.
Tourists, of course.
Exactly.
People who aren't just born and bred New Yorkers.
Right. But have you ever busked? Have you ever rapped?
I have
down in the subway?
Busked. Not in the subway. Actually, that would be cool. That would be really cool. And I've thought about it more. But I busked once to try to fund a bicycle trip to Eureka, California.
From here?
No, from Eugene.
Okay. I was gonna fucking.
But from Eugene, it's not short. It's 360 miles.
Jesus.
And I did it in 4 days. I was
you actually. Wow.
I was not the chubster I am now.
All this Popeyes.
No body shame.
About.
No body shame.
Right.
I'm a cute chubster.
Exactly.
So I did that. And I went to the Eugene Saturday Market, which is where I already knew people busk. You've probably not been to that, but you've seen hippie Saturday farmers markets where people busk. I'm sure they got tons of stuff in the Bay Area.
I went to Eugene in July, I think, to go record a video with Sammy.
There you go.
Do a 92 podcast episode. Anyway,
nice. Tech92.com, baby. This is all a front for the brand.
Yes.
That's a Bo Burnham bit. Sorry. So I played that. I just whipped out my acoustic guitar and wrote down what are the 10 to 12 songs I could play. Stone Temple Pilots, Plush,
Nice.
Tenacious D was in there.
Nice.
Roadie is a great song in my range. Some Chili Peppers,
Right.
little Nirvana.
Right.
Just did that for a little bit. Had my bike helmet, as my
Nice.
little like, put money in this, please, little sign. So I get it.
How did it go?
Good. It went well. Well. Some people singing along.
Cool.
If they know the stuff, then they're gonna enjoy
Right.
someone doing it, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. Haven't thought too much about doing it out here though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it can sometimes get repetitive for yourself if you only have, like, I remember only having a couple of songs and just being like, all right, I'm done now. Like, I don't want to play. Okay, it might be new for everybody else, but like, it's, and not just that, but the cold or the fact that no one claps because they're all going somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good way to get used to your ego being smaller.
There you go.
Which is not. I don't know why it's not a cumulative effort for me. For me, it's like over and over I have to be reminded of, like, oh yeah, okay,
you aren't shit.
I need to calm down. Like
well,
my ego regenerates
you also have
very quickly.
Real talent, and so when people recognize that, then they actually will probably, praise
That's when the
you
encouragement isn't good.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. What was I gonna say, dude? Here's a song I kind of wondered about that you cover, "Bump and Grind." That's R. Kelly, right?
Yeah, I stopped doing it. I stopped doing it.
Even you stopped doing it. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Only because
thank you, because some people really are pieces of shit.
It's true.
Like, yeah, he's a speck of dirt.
That's
on
one
a
of those.
piece of
That's
cow
one of those
shit.
things where, like, you could say with some of the people and some of the, in my personal opinion, we don't necessarily need to go, but like with some, like Louis C.K. as an example, him making some sexual mistakes that weren't smart and whatever, that's one thing. But someone who consistently for like 30 years now has been a piece of shit, like that,
groomed children into
that
like
multiple people
trapped them
it's
in.
not like one person saying he might have or he did or whatever. It's like multiple people over the last 30 years who are like,
Louis, it was
locked
a
me in
solid
fucking-
5 of the same behavior too, but you're
but it's a
basically making a point that
huge
it's a
difference.
different kind of behavior.
It's a different kind of behavior, and there's a lot more people who like, it's not.
It is a lot more people.
You know what I mean?
With Cosby too, and it's a lot more people.
Right.
So
it's like, could I play Bump and Grind? Sure. It depends on the venue. Like, if there's a bunch of
don't do it.
if it's like a hip hop show where like there's a lot of black people in their 30s. I might, but I think I would probably stick to like Pony. You know what I mean?
Is that a R. Kelly song? No.
No. Genuine.
Oh, okay. Got it. Sorry.
I would do that instead because it just feels weird. It's like
I
people want to hear Bump and Grind.
Another
but
problem
it's like,
about
they're
it too is his all of his music is about fucking. So it's like it maybe would be something. I'm not even.
I don't
defending.
see nothing wrong
It wouldn't be something
with a
else.
little 13-year-old.
Oh God. Oh God. Jeez, yes,
It's creepy,
it's truly bad.
Yeah.
It's truly bad.
He would literally go to malls and like have his crew like recruit these 14, 15-year-olds.
Fucking gross. Anyway, I loved playing the Tenacious D stuff. I was chatting with you a little bit before we got on air here, and like, I don't think of myself as a good singer. I don't think of myself as a pure comedian.
Right.
And again, like, I grew up thinking I was funny because people liked my Facebook statuses that were clever-ish.
Right.
What
a different experience, man.
Oh, yeah. Generations are speeding up quick, man.
Absolutely.
Quick.
Yeah.
Because, like, now the kids, I work in the school, so I know, like, Snapchat is everything, and then Instagram a little bit, too.
Right.
There's a sense of relief that comes from that post isn't just going to sit there for years and then age badly and make you look like an idiot.
Right.
And so that's why stories, I think, are kind of on the rise, which is cool. The flip side of that is that it forces people to like feel like, you know, the FOMO aspect of like, oh, I gotta see it, you know, I gotta see this picture of this person's chili that they made that they're really proud of, because it's gonna disappear after 24 hours.
Right. And maybe it's also a piece as far as kids go that it's like that ego encouragement, like we were talking about earlier. It might not be helpful. You know what I mean? Because these are kids who they're wrapping their whole ego up in their self-worth around it, like I do from time to time. Yeah. I wrap my whole self-worth around this post. Now imagine being younger and not having this podcast or not having this song or not having this world outside of social media and school. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be a fucking trip.
Oh, we're fucked up, and they're just going to keep getting more fucked up.
Right.
Because there were already plenty of mechanisms for young people to know how popular they are.
Right.
Like, you know, prom court elections, whatever it may be, just like talk on the street. And now it's very objectively quantified. Your post got 270 likes. Mine got 512. So you are just over half as important as me.
Wow.
You know, I mean, you know, it's frustrating and sad to see, but also it's like, I don't know what to do about it, because there's a lot of great things about, you know, everybody getting a voice also.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the price we pay for it.
What I was really gonna say, is like, I've not felt like in any of those particular domains, like I'm a super talented person. And this is also a question for you. Like,
you mean social media?
No. Sorry, I wanted to go back to the music.
Oh yeah, well, you were saying something.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's good. It's a natural combo. Not being like great as a funny person or like as a singer or whatever, but I've always felt like musical comedy is an exciting space.
Sure.
Because the whole joke essentially can be that you're not good at singing, and that's okay, you know. And so like my middle school principal, straight up principal,
right,
big shot, she brought me into the office, said, we need to have a talk because your teachers think you're too obsessed with Jack Black.
Nice. That is a good problem.
What a great compliment, right?
That is wonderful.
7th grade, I collected every DVD I could find.
Do you get like a Wonder Boy tattoo? What did you?
Wonder Boy. No, but I did sing that song at the like day of my graduation. Not like the full ceremony, but for the homeroom class, like 40 people, like 2 combined homeroom classes. Me and Gator Green sang Wonder Boy with no instruments, and still went over well.
That sounds like the dorkiest, most wonderful thing I've ever heard in my life.
The most middle school thing you've ever heard.
Yeah, it very much is. Because it's just for you two, you know, geeky little, you know, Tenacious D fans. You know, it's not for anyone else. No, I'm glad it came over well.
But it worked out fine because we were so into it.
Right.
You know?
They were
and
like,
also, that was
this.
yearbook day. So I look back on the 7th grade yearbook, and every one of them was like, that song today was funny.
Wow.
Hags, have a great summer. Yeah,
right.
So anyway, let me ask you then, as a person who is, I mean, you got this album coming out, and that's very exciting. As a person who is doing a lot of different kinds of streams of entertainment, whether it's podcasting or music, do you feel like that is a good, like, do you ever feel like, oh man, if I just focused on one thing and went all into it, that would be a better move? Or do you feel like it's a good opportunity to spread out your different kinds of creativity and skill?
I've had multiple, well, really one in particular. My dad really, he's a very well-respected horn arranger and trombone player, and he's been doing it for 40 years. He's an amazing musician, amazing writer, a great mind for it, always had great input. He actually arranged some horns in my album.
Nice.
The horn tracks,
they're knocking.
Fucker. So you've never heard my song, That's Why You've Got Haters?
I don't think I've heard of any of your original songs.
Okay, so it's about shitty rappers and why they have haters. And,
they all think it's just because people are haters.
Right. It's like, no, it's because you're not a very good rapper. And my dad arranged some horns on it, and there's this one part with a fugue with like a very high, not timpani, a very high trumpet that is, like, when I listen to it, it doesn't matter he's my dad. It doesn't matter it's my album. I'm a fan. Like, I'm such a fanboy of this one part. And I'm just like, I'm so fucking bowled over that I get to have it on my album. But anyway,
nice.
He specifically told me, he was like, you need to kind of get yourself, like, brand-wise into a little bit of a box because people need to know what you are. You know what I mean? And so it feels uncomfortable for me in a way thinking about that because I want to be a bunch of different things. I like the fact that I do music and that I can kill a show.
Sure.
And then also do this because this feels comfortable to me. Having a podcast feels comfortable to me.
Oh, you're great at
being
it.
Fun. Thank you, sir. And so I don't want to pigeonhole myself, but at the same time, I know people can't really. There's so many people like you as an example, but like so many. And part of the reason why people haven't heard my songs is because I haven't put the goddamn album out. It's coming. It's
Exactly.
It's 90% done.
Oh, when you do that, I'm all over it.
Thank you, sir.
Do you have anything else in wide release? Like
recordings? There's old songs on my SoundCloud that I recorded off of like my phone. Okay. You know what I mean? Like there, and there's on YouTube, if you search me, you'll find the Me song, which is about ego and posting and Facebook and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I've seen. Yeah.
And then there's also
something
that's why
about
you've got
how
haters.
Important I am, or I don't.
Yeah, I'm the shit. Yeah,
I'm the shit. Yeah.
But so I have stuff up. But anyway, I'm responsible for people not knowing me both ways, but at the same time, I like having. Was that the question? Like,
yeah, no, that's good. It's a conversation. It's whatever,
right? I just feel like I don't. I know I'm supposed to because it would be useful to me, but at the same time, I like having all my hand in a bunch of different shit.
Good. Well, okay. Even though this is the conservative podcast, I'm gonna we're both mixed race people,
right?
And for me, I feel like that's had a tremendous impact on my life.
Absolutely.
Because, well, first of all, everyone expects you to be a certain way, and so because I had this like upbringing of seeing two radically different, even philosophies about what's a good lifestyle. From my mom's Japanese, very like, organized, proper, like, keeping up social norms, and, the good of, not standing out, those are big values.
Yeah.
And then my dad is this crazy musician who, like, when his jeans would get worn down, he'd cut them into jean shorts. When those parts would get worn down, he'd cut them into jean shorts shorter than his boxers.
Beautiful.
And just didn't care.
Right.
No sense of care.
Right.
And just like, my mom is like, everything needs to be neat and beautiful. My dad's like, hey, it's a yard sale. That's a rule in our car. We stop for yard sales.
Nice.
And he will always like look at the free box or whatever and like say, oh, this amazing painting and this whatever. It's just like, so having these radically different sort of ideas about how to just compose yourself and be a person made me be like, there's not one way. There's not just one way to be.
Right.
And so that is what I have gotten a little tired of, is this idea that you have to be just like us. Otherwise, you're not a part of us. See, this ideological purity. Exactly. Right. Every issue you have to fall in line. Otherwise, you're canceled. Otherwise, you're right. Like, oh, dude, like this person tweeted this like 6 years ago, and their apology about it wasn't perfect, and so, and it's like, man, like, I guess I get it, because it's just group dynamics have been happening forever.
Sure.
And people are performing for their friends. And
some stereotypes are legit. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, much more organized, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get that. But you're totally right. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who are not all the way left or right. There's a lot of people who are like super left, except for when it comes to, like, there's a lot of black people who are, like, super about civil rights and blah, blah, blah. And then, I ain't down with that gay shit. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, okay, interesting. Like, it is a little more complicated.
Well, there's, as a person who is privy to a lot of, like, I went to a small liberal arts college and had a lot of conversations and progressive sort of, like, social justice, like, events I'd go to all the time. And there is this, from, I would say, a lot of colleges and universities, and professors are some of the main orchestrators of this idea, is that, all oppressions are linked, and therefore, like, basically, oppression itself is this force and power and privilege. These are things that are creating the unequal society we live in.
Right.
And to fight against one of them, you have to be fighting against all of them, which I can appreciate from an idealistic perspective.
Okay.
But, like, the assumption in some of those spaces is that everybody is like that, and if you're not like that, something's wrong, or we just won't hear from you, or your story's just not that important because, you know, let's say you are a real believer in equality for women, but I don't even want to defend, well, I don't even know, but like, but you're a little bit, you know, what are the implications of trying to physically make all, like, if you're not totally down with like trans rights, for example, and like you don't think that, you know, making, you know, it mandated that any kind of a publicly funded space has, you know, a gender neutral bathroom on every floor, or that both bathrooms become gender neutral, like, then you're a TERF, which is a trans exclusionary radical feminist. Like,
whoa.
There's terms, there's like SWERF, sex worker exclusionary radical feminists. Whoa. People that think that they're I'm educating you. Here we go.
Thank you very much.
And and so it's like this, a lot of infighting that happens, and I wonder how productive it is sometimes, because I just think it's so much more often, and I speak from my own individual perspective here, like, true that instead of just labeling people in a certain way and using that label as a weapon, trying to understand how they got to that place, and moving them a little bit towards, okay, so you understand that women have been oppressed by all these forces, and let's talk about how gender is a construct, let's move there. But maybe it's the brevity of social media where you only get 160, now 320 characters to say what you're trying to say, or people are performing to try to get the most validation and get shared and go viral and get likes or whatever it is.
And monetarily, there's money now wrapped up in social media as well. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. With YouTube, I spend way more time there than I wish, and that's people make real careers off of that. People make careers off of a social media presence for sure. And I'm, you know, it's maybe I'm being the idealistic one by saying, no, like, these people that have these fucked up views, like, we need to just like listen to them and help them on their way, you know, in a friendly way. Like, maybe that's too much of my idealistic idea, but I just get tired of it, because even coming from Eugene, I grew up in off River Road. I went to North Eugene, where as much as like the town, it's not a city, has the reputation for being super lefty and liberal. You know, had tons of people who my friend would joke like are the hicks who wear camo to blend into the white walls at school. Right. Like a lot of those types of folks, and they're in my geometry class, and so I, you know, got to know them and realized, oh, these people just have parents who have like a totally different idea about the world than I do. Do these people suck inherently? Are they inherently like, you know, bad for this reason and this reason and this way, or did they just they just raised in a different context? I think what's happening now is like, with the spread of information happening so quickly, like, we're trying to hold everybody who lives in every kind of community to the same standard. So what I mean by that is like a super rural place like Grants Pass, Oregon, having to, you know, having, let's say, a 98% white population, like, you know, those people. Yeah, I'm even just like not wanting to say how I really feel a lot of the time too, but it's like, because what's gonna happen later? It's like they're being told the same ideas from national media, from maybe sometimes federal legislation. You have to be this way, in the same way that people from, I don't know, the Bronx are, you know, getting that same information. And there's just like so much diversity in the country, which I think is awesome. That like, I think that you can turn people off. You can turn people off because they're like, what? Like, that's not, you don't know shit about my life. Like, and so we saw like Trump had an amazing strategy. Go after the Rust Belt states. Go after these states that Hillary won't even go to because she's so sure that Michigan's going to fall in line. And so let's spend a bunch of money in Georgia. And try to get Georgia to go blue, and not visit Michigan once, and visit Minnesota once or no times, and they came pretty close to going red. And just not realizing that so many of those people feel completely overlooked.
And not just that, but like when it really is a thing that Hillary, or maybe not so much her as much, like when, and this has always been a true thing, even back in the 80s, back in the 70s, you have to, or politicians feel they have to, appeal to the crazy side of whatever their side is, in order to get them. You know what I mean? That's why. I mean, I don't think really Trump is like super Christian. You know what I mean? Come on, dude. Like, but he has to appeal to the Christian masses so that people will be on his side. Now he may be, whatever. Yeah. But like, I didn't see him on the fucking Apprentice with a fucking, with a gold cross on. Now, I'm thinking like, and that's how it always has been.
When he was telling women that he thought they looked good on their knees, like, yeah.
Did he? I mean, hey, that's a whole other conversation.
I completely get what you're saying. Yeah, he's
but like, they've always had to. So when that happens, and that's part of the reason why he got elected, was that people like me, I'm just looking at the levels, people like me who are somewhere in the middle, people like me who are half white and half aren't, I don't want to be called racist, just because I'm not fully non-white. You know what I mean? I don't want to be, and so I think
words are changing, man. Words are changing, and what they mean is changing. And that's always been true, but it's happening faster now. And so from being in these spaces I'm talking about, where I'm in these very lefty spaces, racism, if you look up the Merriam-Webster definition, is the idea that a person based on their race is inferior or not as good at something.
Right.
They don't name specific races. And racism, and sometimes referred to as institutional or structural racism.
I think the core.
Sorry, I'll stop doing that.
Don't worry about it.
I'm fidgety.
I'm listening, though.
I grew up in a social media anxious culture.
Right, me too.
I'm fidgeting with the cord over here. That's why it sounds like. Sorry.
It's all good.
The people that fought against racism in the 60s and 70s, MLK and Malcolm X, etc., they were fighting for, a sort of like a more progressive power structure and enfranchising more people that were disempowered. And so people nowadays, they say, no, racism is only applicable to white people because white people have power in American and Western society. And so they basically say that a person of color, and not all people of color have equal amounts of privilege. And it's like, how do you keep up with this, right? Sometimes I'm saying from the perspective of someone who didn't get $62,000 a year spent to go to a college where I learned all this stuff and had friends who had these feelings and stuff.
Right.
So that idea is that, people of color can't be racist, which now we're just having a different conversation about different things.
Yeah.
Because hell yeah,
Absolutely.
my Asian homies are mad racist to black people.
Yes.
Mad racist to black people. And I know black people who say fucked up misogynist and racist stuff towards Asian women, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're not having the same conversation as each other because we're arguing about what these words mean, and I don't know what the fix is to that.
Right. I think this is part of the fix. Doing long form conversations, like everybody. I've never gone into it, rarely. Like I was telling you, when I wanted you to come on, I never go into this with like a strong agenda where I'm going to make somebody see or make somebody. I don't give a fuck. True. Sometimes I have episodes where we don't talk about politics fucking at all.
Nice.
But every time we have skirted certain subjects, almost every person on this podcast has talked about something that they're not 100% left on. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the conversation for us to start having. Is not, I'm not saying my podcast is the savior of all the world, but I mean, I am.
By the time you get to episode 52, it will be. Right now, it's just a weird, lazy episode where you interview some nerd rapper.
Listen, but there's having the conversation like this where you and I, just by existing, disrupt the paradigm. You and I, but just by existing, because we are mixy mix, we're not all the way left, and we're not all the way right, and we're not all the way soft or hard or fast or slow. Or it's like it's okay for us to disagree. And it's so I have this shirt that says this. I'm hopefully going to make it into a conservative shirt where it says it's okay if we disagree on politics. Yep. Like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I think for us to. Yeah, we're not having the same conversation, but this is the way we do it. Just by listening. There are people who are going to listen to your episode as an example because they're fans of your hip hop, or they know you through Facebook or through hip hop. Who are going to be like, all right, let's just see. I haven't been willing to listen to Peter's other podcasts because I feel like he's, I'm just going to hear something I don't want to listen to.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, oh, they're going to be nodding their head through this whole fucking episode. And then you're going to see I'm goddamn correct, assholes.
And then I'm going to get that mad Spotify money, dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, next month, dude, I'm going to get $7 instead of $5. It's going to be crazy.
But you know what I mean?
Ball out.
I feel like this is the way we do that, through long form conversations.
I feel that. And I think much has been said about that we are more insular now. We're more able to construct our own communities now.
Right.
I'm only going to see stuff from these people who feel this way or from da-da-da. I create that through the internet. I downvote or I don't like what I don't like, and then I like what I do like. And eventually you realize you're in this room and you're looking around and you're like, all these things are supposed to be what I believe and what appeal to me, but is this really me?
Right.
And so I think before, we had to at least live next to and engage with people maybe a little more, and maybe that is what's creating some of the division. Is that, I didn't agree with that. I don't know. Plumber is a bad example, but just some working class white guy, and I'm not that or whatever. But we end up going to the same basketball games, or we work together or something. But now anyone can work from home if they don't like, to be around rednecks, or I can just get all my food delivered to me. I don't have to go out and interact, or I literally have this magical computer that's 5 inches long, and if I'm not interested in engaging in a conversation with a person, all I have to do is pull it out and stare at it or act like I'm on the phone, which has been evolving slowly. These changes are happening gradually, but it's like I'm in the position that we need each other. We need people on the right to show us how fucked up and stupid we are on the left sometimes.
Yes.
And we need the same thing,
the other
reversed.
Way. Right.
But I'm like, man, are we nowadays? It's like we don't need each other as much, but is that a good thing?
And I did want to talk about, because before I forget, I do want to ask something, but
about juggalos, yes.
God damn it, we're at 56 minutes.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was gonna first things first. I was gonna say it's easy for us because of listening to a lot, Joe Rogan and all these other podcasts and mine, where it's easy to start going, it's different now because of blah blah blah. If you look at headlines from 100 years ago, politicians were saying inflammatory, crazy shit.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
were all inflammatory, crazy motherfuckers. We only lived to fucking 47. Things were just as crazy then. We just couldn't necessarily see it as bad. But I do want to pepper in a little bit of the fact that there's always been people, politicians, who were like, this guy's going to ruin the country. He's going to let the women vote. All kinds of crazy
big red button,
shit.
All sorts of big social anxieties about.
I think it's easy for us to get off track and say it's so bad now. But I think it's always been a little bad and a little wonderful now.
Okay. Yeah.
But I did want to ask before we get into ICP
I think it's a little especially bad now. But
no, I think I think you're right.
I fucking despise almost everything Trump does. But I will say, in his election,
yes, sir.
And it's so easy to look back in hindsight now, but I did have an early feeling of like Chris Christie did, had an early feeling of
for donuts.
Fuck you. Sorry, I saw Chris Christie on The View the other day, and he was talking about this, so it reminded me. I'm like, how's this guy relevant still? Oh yeah, he has a book out now.
Oh, okay, of course.
So, Ted Cruz isn't inspiring anyone. Fucking Marco Rubio is not inspiring anyone. Yeah. And so early on, I was like, we need to kind of pump the brakes a little bit and actually stop looking at this Trump guy as such a joke, and stop giving him all this crazy free publicity where CNN covers his podium longer than they cover a Bernie Sanders rally, his empty podium. So basically, obviously, hindsight is easy to say, oh, I knew he was a legitimate, credible threat very early on.
Right.
Where was I going with that? But I did try to watch his rallies in full. I did. And, you know, not, I don't know, just on YouTube and stuff. And like, there's peppered in those moments where he's like, and we're gonna love one another, and it's hypocritical because he's a huge douche. I mean, he's very harsh. But like, you know, moments when he would say things that are cool that no one would ever hear about unless you actually went to that long form source and picked out those things, and that kind of troubled me a little bit to see, you know, no credit being given to him for. That there is more nuance or having it. I mean, it's gonna be weird. Like for example, I don't know. Like, history is complicated. I'm in the business of trying to understand history, and like, it's complicated as fuck. So you've got. Do you know who the president was that was in office at the time the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, was founded?
No.
Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon founded the EPA. His administration did. You know, it's like, history is weird. Who's the first president to become president as a supporter of gay marriage?
Who?
It's Donald Trump.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of what you were saying a little bit before. But like, Obama was not pro same-sex marriage until Joe Biden kind of made him do that, kind of leading up to 2012 by saying his position evolved.
So a couple of things. You're interested in becoming a teacher.
Yes.
How do you plan, or how do you? Because I know you grew up in the liberal arts college, and you had a whole culture built around the liberal stuff to the point of cutting off conversation. Maybe it wasn't as bad 5 years ago as it is now, but like, how do you plan on being a teacher and also supporting conversation?
That's a troubling question.
Right.
Something I hope to be thinking about all the time, but not so much that it paralyzes me from just doing the basic duties of my job and taking attendance and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Because tenure is a real thing. Once you get tenure, you're okay, but there's a lot of people who can get fired over nothing.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And a lot of hubbub has been made about the teachers' unions, and I think they do a lot of good work. But, so what I'm saying is, I think you have to be honest with the students about not being the intellectual authority on a hill on every subject.
Right.
And so being honest with them and saying that, you know, you can express a view that I disagree with.
Right.
And I'll give you the grade you deserve for your ability to articulate the view.
Right.
If you're using bullshit sources to support a bullshit argument, even if it's an argument on the left, if you say the Green New Deal is going to be a great idea because da-da-da, and cite a bunch of Facebook posts, you know, or whatever, then I'm going to give you a C- or whatever, you know, like, and so a lot of how history teachers teach is, ideally, it's through debate. It's through allowing students to have a voice and express how they really feel, which, you know, I would love to become a teacher in a place that's maybe a little similar to North Eugene, like I said, where there's a good mix of ideologies, but even then, like, it's still, you know, decidedly a lefty place. And so, you know, one of my best teachers, Mr. Ball, in high school said, if liberals, which I am one, really want to take back the country, what they'll do is move away from the coasts, and they'll become teachers or whatever. And so, like, Colorado is a purple state, North Carolina is a purple state. I don't know where I'm going to be, but it's places in Oregon that are red because geographically the vast majority of Oregon is red.
Right.
You know, I want to be close enough to the culture and the diversity that I like, but also have an opportunity to not just create an echo chamber for students to express what they think their teachers want them to hear. Yeah. Because, I mean, I know from being a decent bullshitter myself at times that your teachers, like, a lot of times being a student is about saying and writing what a teacher is going to like, what they're going to agree with. And so I want to open a space for students to not do that, to be authentic.
You know, and if you did move to somewhere around other non 100% echo chamber of liberals, I think that's an incredible benefit, not just to them. Like, it's not just like, oh, we're going to take the country back by infiltrating these red states and making them whatever.
Yeah.
It's also an incredible benefit to the teacher and themselves, because the people I know who aren't, like in I say this all the time, but like San Francisco, maybe New York, definitely more San Francisco and LA, there's such an echo chamber that they think everyone in between California and New York is a racist piece of shit. They don't know any conservatives. They don't know any people who,
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Like, and if you're steeped in this mixed diversity, like intellectual diversity, you suddenly start to realize, okay, I disagree with this person, but they're not the devil. You know what I mean? I disagree, and so that would actually.
I hate guilt by association. Of course, there are
guilty
levels,
motherfuckers.
There's levels to it.
There's racists for sure.
If you're trying to be, the champion of this particular issue, and you're, dating somebody who is a completely not a supporter of that. I don't know. Maybe not even dating someone, but there's levels to it. But what I'm saying is that, like,
don't fuck conservatives. That's what you're saying.
Some of them are hot.
Yes. Yes, we are. No,
so yeah, I just am a little tired of this idea that, like, you have to be around and with people that reflect you in every kind of way. Because what is that? That's ego.
Right.
That's the same. Some of it is the same tribalistic instinct that leads to racism.
Absolutely.
So let me say this, and it's like, I don't know the best way to articulate it, but maybe long form conversation is a good way to develop your thoughts.
Yeah.
Instead of me just sitting in my little 4-wall room and just like not sure what to say because I don't know where to put these thoughts. So a lot of lefty philosophy, intellectual, academia is like centered around this idea that, social constructs govern the way we live, and so just about everything is just a construct. Time is a social construct, gender is a social construct,
right?
And I think that's somewhat true. And technology is, and the way that the place we are in society has allowed us to advance past some of those things. Sure. And say, maybe I have a more progressive or liberal idea about gender or many other things, or about race. But those things aren't entirely a construct. What I mean by that is, like, those things happened over time. It's like I'm so, like, worried to even be specific, right? So I just sound vague. But it's like,
I can articulate one if you'd like.
Okay, and I'll see if I agree with it. How about that?
So, as far as gender being a social construct.
Okay.
And I've heard Camille Paglia and Jordan Peterson talk about this. I love Camille Paglia. She's the best.
Okay.
There are sometimes people, the more socialist, kind of left-leaning people, they see a structure and they want to get rid of the structure, throw the baby out with the bathwater. But sometimes those social constructs are there because we as a society chose to frame it a certain way so that we would have less chaos and insanity, right? Or so that we would more comfortably move. So, like, as an example,
or that did serve the majority, not everybody.
Not everybody, but the majority. So, like, as an example, not gender, but like, okay, so sometimes, let's say gender. So the structure of, on a smaller scale, and obviously there's vagaries of it where you don't let, you beat people to death because they have, they feel like a woman, but they're actually a man, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Obviously. But I mean, like, when it comes to gender and the relationship between men and women, women on the whole, not all, but women on the whole, and I've talked to a lot of women about it, feel like inside their relationship, at least, they want to be Robin to a Batman.
Okay.
Like, they feel it in their bones. Okay. They want to be, I'm your down ass bitch, I'm your sidekick, I'm down for whatever. They don't want to lead the relationship. There's a weird, not all, you know what I mean? But, like, so that may be a social construct, but there's a reason why, or even the bathroom thing. You should have all mixed bathrooms. Okay, well, yeah, but do you really want to be in a stall next to me after I ate Taco Bell? Do you really want that, girls? Or like, do you want the privacy of getting to go to the bathroom with your other girlfriends and talk about this guy and pretty up yourself and like there's a reason why girls do that in a group to now take that privacy away.
Sure. I don't know that I agree with like either of those on the whole, but
sure.
I'm understanding and appreciating like how you're arriving at that view.
Right.
And what I would say is that,
and that's, by the way, not
like,
even to say,
there's some wisdom in how centuries of human behavior have, created a society that generally functions. And it's
structures can be manipulated like they have been. Like I said, the vagaries might be the bad word, but like the vagaries of it can be all the way to the point where women can't vote or don't make as much money, all that stuff, right? I'm not saying that that's valid, and I'm not even saying that we shouldn't have all-purpose bathrooms. I'm just saying, think about the structure and why the structure is there before we tear the structure down. You know what I mean? Because some girls don't want to give up the right to a bathroom that's just them. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean if you're trans, hop in, whatever the fuck, just wash your hands. Absolutely.
Sure. And probably the like argument against that would be, have a third bathroom or something,
sure.
like it's gender neutral and like continue to have those spaces.
Yeah.
And then that gets sort of like, then you're like in an infrastructural sort of problem where you're trying to repurpose, which is good. Like when you're building new structures, let's have this concern,
Absolutely.
And over time, a change will occur. But like, get a little tired of people making unrealistic demands on my college campus that every building needs to be outfitted with, a wheelchair ramp, when it so happened that there was not one student at the school that regularly used a wheelchair. They would then argue, it's because it's not an accessible campus. Larger places are more able to accommodate those kinds of things because they have larger communities of people with disabilities, etc.
They have more money.
And so, they have more money, and so a little bit of like, have some realism, was kind of how I felt, but also,
this is a great conversation, by the way. I'm enjoying this. You're a very smart gentleman.
Ah, well, I appreciate it.
Sam is still ugly, by the way.
God, we're taking bad shots. I feel bad. I'll say this now. Figures of Speech is his opus. It's an incredible album.
Yeah.
And I didn't promote it at all. And I haven't even finished editing his book. I guess there's one other statement that I had that swims around in my head all the time. It's like, not a statement, it's more of a thought about how, like, I was in this space with a lot of it too was actually like by virtue of being at this expensive school, where 50% of the students, this is Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota. Look it up. You haven't heard of it, but it's a very well-regarded liberal arts college for people that want to go to grad school and become professors, largely. Because if you get a degree in American Studies, was the name of my degree, or even history or English, which are more applicable to a certain job field, then the only thing that gets you is an opportunity to get a PhD and become a professor, kind of,
Sure.
And so you've got all these people that are paying, their families are paying $60,000 a year, plus all these other additional, like, sort of personal expenses to be here. They're largely privileged and white. And so they're looking for, how do I become the best privileged and white person in a society that's unfair?
Right.
And, like, so it's a sincere effort, but it's
Absolutely.
also groupthink. Yeah. It's also mob mentality. It's also if a person makes a mistake, and even if they atone for it, they're just not a part of us anymore.
Right. Ego fear. And just like the structure, like you said, the jumping off point, the jump spring. Anyway, this I can't think of the fucking word. The intention may start as a beautiful thing. Like, let's make sure that my privilege that got me to the place where I am doesn't cloud my judgment, and doesn't just because I have benefits in my life because of that, let me make sure I don't become, somebody who's a piece of shit. Let me make sure make sure I think about these, and that's good. Well, but then ego and fear take over.
Well, have some tact if you really believe in those sort of ideal things, because if you're so willing to throw people out, where are they going to go? Those people don't disappear. They're still voters. There's still people with money that are going to donate to causes. And what they're going to do is get turned off sometimes, you know? Yeah. And they're going to go towards Ben Shapiro and who
I kind of like Ben.
I know you do. I've heard you say he's a nerd. You wouldn't want to back you up in a fight, but he's well researched. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. And so like there's this thing that I was fed up with about like, don't you all realize how much educational privilege you have? How much access to the cutting edge of these conversations that are happening in intellectual, ivory tower communities, whereby immediately assuming because you know all of this stuff and all of this history, that's the correct history and not the history from the textbook, but the history from these marginalized voices, which I completely agree we should put out there more. And I'm excited about hearing more voices that haven't been heard.
Sure.
Why do you then assume that everybody across the country needs to be as up on you on their vocabulary and and if they're not like, but they're well intentioned, but they're unpolished like that,
or like
that they've got no chance. They're hopeless. They're not worth being your friend. You shouldn't go to poker night with them.
It's like those. It's like those white liberal arts kids, the white liberals. Mm-hmm. And I know we're both kind of half white and both half liberal. So but like the white liberals like have this idea like, oh, you shouldn't be no misogyny, and then when it comes to hip hop, they're like all of a sudden they're like their white guilt comes in and that overrides. They're like, okay, maybe you're allowed to have misogyny because that's your personal experience. Not every fucking. I'm sorry, but like not.
It's a
almost never.
Thing, man.
Almost never
when
is
gender
someone,
and race, when they collide a little bit, it's a tricky thing.
And not just that, but like, oh, maybe he's speaking from his experience. No, he's telling bitch suck my dick. Like that's okay for someone to say that on a hip hop album. It's not speaking from experience. It's not coming from his place of the ghetto. Like I'm not saying he shouldn't say it, but like all of a sudden that white guilt comes in. So it's like there is more, and I feel like a lot of, especially in the Bay, a lot of these white liberals, honestly, don't know any black people. They just don't. They may go to a school where there are some
shoots up in their throat when they see one, and they just want to perform sensitivity.
Yeah,
and
man.
And people of color they're not feeling that.
No,
they don't want that. They want you to be you.
Yeah, I was sitting next to a guy who had a MAGA hat on, and he was black.
I had a student like that last term. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Things are okay.
I accidentally gave him a look. Because he was he was doing it a little to be provocative, I think. But I don't know the kid. I was working with 100 students. I don't know him and his family.
Right.
And so he comes in with a MAGA beanie. He's a dark-skinned black kid.
Right.
And I gave him this look of concern. And then I realized, even though I'm not the main teacher of that classroom, that says something. And that says that I don't it says something. And maybe it should because fuck Trump. That's me. Fuck Trump.
Absolutely.
Maybe it should, and I'm a human being, but also coming from that position of literally of power.
Right.
For me to just look at him and be like, and just give him this look, is not. It's not helpful. It's not pushing dialogue.
Right.
I
will. There's been a good. I think we should start wrapping up, but. As far as context, as far as nuance, as far as judgment and putting other people in a box, how dare you be a fan of ICP? What do you...
Fuck yeah, dude. Let's get into it. I love that this is the ending topic.
How did you hear about ICP in Eugene?
I am an empathetic... You'd be surprised. Because hip-hop is a jamming, fucking slapping art form. It's great, right? Yeah. And so it's got fans everywhere. And the way that I found out about it is that I am an empathetic person. And so
this is an interesting jump spring off, but yeah, go ahead.
And so, of course, I went on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia was like my god in middle school because I wasn't getting taught shit in middle school. I went to a pretty bad middle school. Long story short, I learned a lot online, and I saw an article on Wiki that was bands considered the worst of all time.
Interesting.
Creed, Nickelback, and I was kind of like, well, I kind of like Creed, like Higher as a jam, like
sure,
whatever. I did hate Nickelback though.
Yeah.
And so I hear Insane Clown Posse, and I'm in 2007, a 7th grader, and I'm like, that's a provocative name. So I check out their album. It's all this like carnival-y, bouncy beats with lyrics about like crazy shit,
violent
just
shit,
crazy shit that a middle school boy who feels kind of out of place sometimes like would kind of think is funny at least. And that's how I got to it. But I mean, you might be a little surprised that juggalos are everywhere, and the ICP is less culturally, I guess, omnipotent now. Like they're not around as much now, so it's like people that are juggalos, they might only really show that in certain places or at shows, but they're still around. They're everywhere. They're largely white, but many of them are not white. And so, you know, I'd seen some of the iconography around the halls of my middle school, and so that made me curious because I wanted to know if a person's wearing a graphic tee, I want to know what's on their shirt. I became interested, and long story short, you're making this contention that ICP is against whatever, I don't know, like peace and harmony or whatever.
Not me. I didn't say that. I'm interested.
I don't remember what your lead-in was about asking.
Oh, I said, "How dare you?" Oh, no. I was making a joke saying like switching from politics to music. I didn't. I'm not looking at ICP through any lens, or even this conversation through any lens of diversity or whatever. I was just making a joke. I was making a joke saying like, "How dare you be a fan?" That's all I was.
There you go.
You know, to tell you the truth, I haven't really listened to very much ICP.
Of course you haven't. Yeah. No one has who thinks that they got that band figured out.
God damn it! I hate being caught.
You have to. It's amazing. It's amazingly bad marketing strategy on their part that to know how actually cool and introspective and thoughtful a lot of their music is, you'd have to listen to their whole catalog and find the glimmers of hope in there amidst the senseless violence.
Right.
One thing I would say is
I like senseless violence. You ever heard Necro?
Oh, God.
Dude,
they've
love
done tracks
Necro.
together. I almost saw Necro, but I showed up late for the show. Oh my God. The Sexorcist.
I know.
He flipped that time of the season Zombies track way before Eminem did.
Right.
And that is that track has hip-hop flow written all over it.
Absolutely. Anyway, sorry, continue.
It's all good. Basically what I'm saying is there are some poor-ass fucking high school dropout kids from Detroit
right?
outside of Detroit that fucking like they hate. This class warfare abounds in their music. A lot of the violence and the anger comes from being pissed off at injustice and unequal society. Honestly, they actually go in about this prissy view of people who live in the ghetto, the low down folks of society, the scum of the earth that, you know, they go after cops, they go after judges who look down on people that come from an entirely different circumstance than them. They go after racism and bigotry and even the biggest targets of their violence in their music, straight up. And I'm not going to like just tell people to go listen to ICP because I don't evangelize it. Honestly, I don't.
Right.
As a technical rapper, I don't say this is the pinnacle of music. You got to check this ICP song out. Right. But they go after pedophiles. They go after women beaters. They go after like racists, like serious violent racists, a lot in their music. So there's a real vigilante element to it. But one of my big intellectual-ish thoughts about ICP.
Right.
And part of it is maybe just to justify the fact that their music is fun and I enjoy listening to it.
Yeah,
and
we all have justifications.
At the end of the day, you know,
absolutely.
Is that like they're actually reaching people with a message that is actually inspiring people to be better, and they're doing it in a way, and they're giving a community to people that struggle to find it elsewhere. People who don't feel like they fit in maybe the rock world entirely because they're too hip hop, but not the hip hop world because they're not hip hop enough or don't have that street sort of like knowledge, or maybe they come from a white, you know, trailer park community or whatever.
Right.
People that need somewhere to belong. They got a song called "We Belong."
Right.
And that's all it is. You could be anybody.
Right.
And you could be a fucked up crazy person who's and so much of that speaks to people who come from like abusive homes.
Sure.
I came from an abusive home. I did. And so like that people don't understand and didn't understand that shit speaks to me on a personal level, not just on a theoretical level.
Right.
But like and another thing about complexity. I know you're trying to speed this up a little bit.
No, go for it.
Okay, complexity, and when it comes to being a human, is that like I grew up very much understanding people are challenging and hard to categorize because of my father's anger and abuse towards us.
Right.
My father raised me to be an intelligent, compassionate, wonderful citizen of the world.
Right.
And then he had a lot of demons, and he went to jail for assaulting my mom.
Right.
And that doesn't make me entirely say that I am I dismiss my dad's entire existence. Raising of me and his existence. And if anything, it made me aware that people who commit heinous acts and crimes are people like anyone else and have great qualities outside of that. And let's tap into those and let's rehabilitate and all these things. And growing up with that is part of what made me realize that people are not a hero or a villain. Everybody has a story. I'm the villain in some people's story. Yeah. I feel deep shame and regret about it a lot, and I think about what that means. I'm also the hero in some people's story. I get some comments saying, I've gotten people who tell me my music changed or saved their life. Like, it's rare, but it happens. Right. And it's like, really? I don't think I'm either of those things. Right. I'm somewhere in the middle, dog. Right. Like, I'm a human. I'm a regular fucking person. And Gradient as a name is making space for being in the middle of something. Right. Being it not on just full blown, I'm this, or full blown on the other side. Let's tap into what's going on in the middle, because I guarantee you just about everybody is there somewhere on that bell curve. Right. So I guess So that gave me some wisdom too. So that's me trying to turn a positive out of something that was hard as fuck. It was a hard thing to deal with.
Right. How old were you when it happened?
So it got bad in the house as far as like a hostile climate and screaming over nothing and just bad communication between my parents, probably around me being like 11 or 12. Right. But junior year of high school is when it got bad enough to come to blows, essentially. Right. So he went to jail when I was spring of my junior year of high school. So, I developed who I was generally at that point. Sure. And I'm thankful for that I never physically saw any of that to the actual violence. Right. Because I know that has serious effects on people. Sure. And if I
even
really,
when you're older. Yeah.
Even when you're older, absolutely, but especially when you're younger. If I grew up in a house, really grew up 4, 5, 6 upward in a house where it was that hostile, you internalize that, and I would then have to just really check myself all the time, in the future, and be like, and think about how I act in relationships, etc. Which I still have to think about a lot of the time. But it sucks that you. There's a quote: "Let us not become the evil that we deplore." It's on my girlfriend's wall. It's I don't remember. I don't want to misattribute it to Maya Angelou, but it's some very smart person. And I have to think about that all the time, because my personality, 95% comes from him. My anxiousness and my anxiety, that comes from my mom. Right. And my zipping around in my head all the time, that comes from my mom. But from my dad, I get tons of my personality.
Well, I think, and this maybe ties in with all of our conversations so far, is that maybe self-inventory is the mechanism by which is a good sign anyway. People who are genuinely crazy don't think they're crazy. You know what I mean? Most of the time. That's not all the ways true, but I've had times where I'm sure. And obviously self-doubt, can be used as a very bad tool as well. Mm-hmm. But I think often looking inside ourselves and going, you know what? Am I right? Am I wrong? That is a big buffer. That's almost all we need to do. Is okay, am I? And as long as we continue to self-inventory, we're okay.
I hope so.
It's the moment we go that we don't do that, and we're not introspective, and we're not mature about it, that's when it really starts to crystallize into this immovable object,
Okay. I agree with that. Yeah. That probably happens more as you get older. That you've become totally set in who you are and believing that what you do and who you are as a person is good. But I don't know. I'm only 25.
Right.
So.
Well, you're on the right track, man.
I hope so.
I really appreciate it.
Cool, man. This has been really cool.
Yeah, this has been really fucking great.
Nice.
All right. So again,
but also the sexual favors they're a part of this too, right?
Well, I gave you a nice Starbucks sandwich. and a hand job. But yeah, all right. So where can people find your music again? Where do you prefer people find your music?
That's a good question, huh? Dude, if you bought it on Bandcamp as a download, that's going to get me the most money. So that's cool. Name your price. The physicals are out. I pressed up 1,000, and that was 4 years ago. They're all gone now.
Right.
But Ambition, the album, is on Spotify, I guess Tidal, Apple Music, those sources.
Right.
iTunes as well. That would also probably get me a little more money than just the stream. Mm-hmm. But the internet's wild, man. I've gotten European fans, European collabs. Right. It's cool. It's really
I have a listener in Russia now.
Nice. From the Akapova episode?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what he's listening to,
yeah.
or he or she.
Yeah, okay.
But might be Putin.
That would be cool to any of those are fine, but if you go to the Spotify, there's sadly another gradient out there that makes ambient music.
Ugh.
So just look for a really corny looking Japanese half kid, like in a kimono on an album in what appears to be a galaxy behind him. It's very bad.
That's
a very bad cover.
I can't wait to see that.
Check it out, dog. And like my personality and my head and my thoughts, it runs the gamut of musical styles, of concepts. Like there's shit talking, like there's an alphabet rap song, there's like nerdy shit, there's like a feminist track on there, there's all sorts of stuff. So, you'll probably know by the track too if you're gonna like my style. Right. But please check that out, and don't mistake me for the other gradient with the weird ambient shit. Right. Hopefully I'm getting his money or their money, which would be cool, because sometimes I am surprised. It's like after the album came out, about six months after the album came out, I was getting $15 a month reliably. Nice. Which is not nothing. It ain't nothing. No. That's the lead single. It ain't nothing. Check that out. There you go. Start with the video. If you're in your head creating this idea about me as a handsome, articulate man, person, the video is going to shut all that down, because it's me at a fair rapping on the fucking Ferris wheel and being silly as shit.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for letting me do that plug.
Absolutely.
I didn't even have to eat a bunch of hot wings or something like they did on Hot Ones.
Oh, right.
For me to get that little runway at the end.
So you can find, again, you can find Conservatish on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, everywhere. And that also means, let me look at my
I do not endorse
here. Right. Seriously.
Most of what's
I'll be playing at Vino Locale in Palo Alto this Saturday, the 23rd of February. Let's see.
Peter's an amazing singer. If anyone actually likes this podcast and hasn't heard his shit, check that shit out.
I'll be playing at Amelie Wine Bar the next day in San Francisco. Both shows at 7 p.m. And that's what I'll say for gigs. And then I've got... leave us a review where you're listening to it right now. Share it with your friends. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Instagram. I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. I really did, and I appreciate you coming down from Harlem or wherever the hell you were.
Just outside Harlem, on the Columbia campus. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, and give me a like on my Gradient page. That's how I'll know actually if someone listened more than anything.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much again, Gradient, for coming on, and I love you all very much.
All right. Kamala Harris 2020. Cool.